Saram students, welcome back. I hope you all are excited to continue with the revision. So let's start with history. Lesson number 2, from hunting gathering to growing food. Today in this lesson we will revise about the earliest people. Why were they on the move? How do we know about these people? Choosing a place to live in. Finding out about the fire and about names and dates, a changing environment, the beginning of farming and herding. Now let us begin with the first topic, the earliest people. Why were they on the move? Children, we know that people, they lived in the subcontinent as early as how many years ago? 2 million years ago. And we describe them as hunter-gatherers. Why? Because they hunt the animals and they gather fruits, roots, etc. So the name, it comes from the way in which they get their food. And what did hunter-gatherers do to sustain themselves? Hunter-gatherers, they hunted wild animals, caught fish and birds. They gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalks and eggs. And in this way they sustained themselves. And why did the hunter-gatherers travel from place to place? And in what ways are these similar to, or we can say different from, the reasons for which we travel today? We know that the hunter-gatherers, they traveled from place to place for 4 basic reasons, which are as follows. That is, if they stayed at one place for a long time, they would have eaten up all the available plant and animal resources. Therefore, they went to another place for more food. And the animals, they move from place to place. So the humans, they followed them as they hunted them. And we know that the plants and trees, they bear fruit in different seasons. So when seasons changed, people, they moved to another place. And they also went in search of water. That is, people traveled from place to place in search of water. Why? Because water is necessary for survival. However, nowadays we travel for different purposes, like education. We travel to schools for education. And for work, that is, we travel to reach our workplace. And for business, that is, the people, they travel from place to place for business purposes. And entertainment, that is, we travel from one place to another to amuse and entertain ourselves, like going to a circus, a zoo or sightseeing. And where is water found? Water is found in lakes, streams and rivers. And we know that many rivers and lakes, they are perennial. That means they have water throughout the year, while others are seasonal. That is, water is there only for a particular season. So the people living on their banks, they would have had to go in search of water during the dry seasons, like winter and summer. Now let us revise, how do we know about them? We know that the archaeologists, they have found some of the things the hunter-gatherers made and used. What were they? They were the tools. So the people, they made and used tools of stone, wood and bone. And out of these, which tools have survived the best? The stone tools, they have survived the best. Children, how were stone tools used in the past? Some of the stone tools, they were used to cut meat and bones, scrape bark from trees and hides, that is, animal skins, and to chop fruit and roots. And some of these stone tools, they may have been attached to handles of bone or wood. Why? To make spears and arrows for hunting. And other tools were used to chop wood, which was used as firewood. And the wood was also used to make huts and tools. So, how was wood used in the past? Wood was used as firewood, and it was also used to make huts and tools. Children, here in the images you can see that the stone tools, they were used for different purposes. That is, for digging the ground, to collect edible roots, and also for stitching clothes that were made out of animal skin. And you can see the image of the firewood. Now let's revise the next topic, choosing a place to live in. Children, here you can see in this map some important archaeological sites. That is, we can see Paleolithic sites, Neolithic sites, megalithic sites, early village and modern cities. And all the places that are marked with rectangles, they are the sites from which archaeologists have found evidence of hunter-gatherers. And these hunter-gatherers, they lived in many more places, but only some are shown on the map. And many of these sites, they were located near the sources of water, such as rivers and lakes. Children, we have already learnt how to mark and locate the places on the map. As we know that the stone tools, they were very important. So the people, they tried to find places where good quality stone was easily available. And here in this image we can see Bhimbetka, which is in present day Madhya Pradesh. And this is an old site with caves and rock shelters. Children, why people chose to live in natural caves? People chose these natural caves because they provided shelter from the rain, heat and wind. And these rock shelters, they are close to which valley? They are close to the Narmada valley. Children, here we can see rock paintings and what they tell us. That is, many of the caves in which these early people lived, they have paintings on the walls. And some of the best examples are from Madhya Pradesh and southern Uttar Pradesh. And these paintings, they show the wild animals which are drawn with great accuracy and skill. So, what is the special feature of the paintings that are found in Madhya Pradesh and southern Uttar Pradesh? These paintings, they show wild animals which are drawn with great accuracy and skill. Children, what do you mean by sites? Sites are places where the remains of things such as tools, pots, buildings, etc. were found. And these things, they were made, used and left behind by the people. So, where are they found now? These may be found on the surface of the earth, or buried under the earth, or sometimes even underwater. Now let's revise about finding out about fire. Children, if you look in this map, look out for Kurnool caves. You can find traces of ash have been found here. And this suggests that people, they were familiar with the use of fire. So, what suggests that people in the past used fire? The traces of ash that have been found in the Kurnool caves, this suggests that people in the past, they used fire. Children, let's discuss. List 3 ways in which hunter-gatherers used fire. Would you use fire for any of these purposes today? So, we know that the hunter-gatherers, they commonly used fire as a source of light and to cook meat, to scare away wild animals and to warm themselves during cold season. And even today, we use fire for cooking, generating heat, lighting, and for ceremonies. Now let's revise about names and dates. Children, the archaeologists, they have given lengthy names for the time that we are studying. That is, they call the earliest period as the Paleolithic. And this comes from two Greek words. Paleo meaning old and lithos meaning stone. So the name, it points to the importance of finds of stone tools. The Paleolithic period, it extends from 2 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. And this long stretch of time, we can say it is divided into the lower, middle and upper Paleolithic. And this long span of time, it covers 99% of human history. And the period when we find environmental changes, that is the beginning about 12,000 years ago till about 10,000 years ago. It is called as the Mesolithic. Mesolithic means middle stone. So the stone tools that were found during this period, they are generally tiny and are called microliths. And these microliths, they were probably stuck onto the handles of bone or wood. Why? To make tools such as saws and sickles. At the same time, older varieties of tools, they continued to be in use. And the next stage, that is from about 10,000 years ago, it is known as the Neolithic, that is the new stone age. And very often we use present day names of the places where people lived in the past. Why? Because we do not know what they called them. So we can say that the Paleolithic period, it extends from 2 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. And the Mesolithic period, it begins about 12,000 years ago till about 10,000 years ago. And the next stage, that is from about 10,000 years ago, it is known as the Neolithic, that is the new stone age. Now let's revise the next topic, a changing environment. Children, around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world with a shift to relatively warm conditions. So, in many areas, this led to the development of grasslands, and this in turn led to an increase in the number of deer, antelope, goat, sheep and cattle, that is the animals that survived on grass. And those who hunted these animals, now they started following them and learning about their food habits and their breeding seasons. So this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing these animals themselves. And during this time, the fishing, it also became important. So this led to the beginning of farming and herding. And the crops like wheat, barley and rice, they grew naturally in different parts of the subcontinent. And the men, women and children, they probably collected these grains as food, and they learned where they grew and when they ripened. So this may have led to them to think about growing plants on their own, and in this way they became farmers. And people could also attract and then tame animals, leaving food for them near their shelters. And which animal was first to be tamed? The first animal to be tamed was the wild ancestor of the dog. Later, people encouraged the animals that were relatively gentle to come near the camps where they lived. And these animals such as sheep, goat, cattle and also the pig, they lived in herds and most of them ate grass. So which animals were relatively considered as gentle? Animals such as sheep, goat, cattle and pig, they were considered relatively as gentle, and often people protected these animals from attacks by other wild animals, and this is how they became herders. So now let's have a quiz. Tick the correct option. First one. Traces of ash in the Kurnool caves indicate dash. A. Rearing of animals. B. Use of fire. C. Use of stone tools. D. Use of water. What's the correct option? Correct. Use of fire. Traces of ash in the Kurnool caves indicate use of fire. Second one. Grasslands developed in many areas around dash years ago. A. 10,000. B. 12,000. C. 20,000. D. 2 million. What's the correct option? Correct. B. 12,000. Grasslands developed in many areas around 12,000 years ago. Now third one. Bhimbetka is located in the present day dash. A. Uttar Pradesh. B. Andhra Pradesh. C. Madhya Pradesh. D. Kerala. What's the correct answer? Yes. C. Madhya Pradesh. Bhimbetka is located in the present day Madhya Pradesh. Children, today we have completed the revision of part 1 of lesson number 2, from hunting gathering to growing food. So we will continue with this lesson in our next class. Till then, goodbye children.